There. I am so glad you're here, and I am excited to share with you a new project in the Showing Up to Life community. This is called Mindfulness at Work Casual Fridays. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to do a weekly podcast and YouTube episode for people at work. Okay, Mindfulness at Work is a program that I run where I teach people in the corporate environment, basic practices of mindfulness and self-compassion and loving kindness and things that, really do impact the ability to do the work. Okay. And this is why I'm calling it Casual Fridays, because, I always remember back in the days of corporate world with me, and yes, I'm wearing a sort of a dress shirt, but I promise you I have sweatpants on right now. So it's always Casual Friday for me. But I always found that Casual Fridays felt it felt like you were free to be yourself, right? And to just, not have to put on this sort of, or not as much of an external sort of show, right? You didn't have to get dressed up, you didn't have to put the tie on or the suit or whatever. I mean, that's not really where I came from, but certainly there was part of that. So when you're able to just dress in jeans and a polo shirt, it actually, I always felt that it increased my productivity. I always felt that I was more effective on those kind of days because I didn't have that sort of, preoccupation with how I appeared, right? And making sure I was wearing the right thing, right? Like to a client meeting, if you will, right? Mindfulness is a lot like this as well, right? Mindfulness is about really being here with what's going on. Right. And that's what I found. That's, I think, the essence of what Casual Fridays really are. It allows you to just sort of relax into your work. Right. And so this is going to be a weekly episode. I'm gonna publish them on Fridays. This one I'm doing on Saturday because I didn't get to it yesterday. But every Friday you can expect this to drop, where we're gonna have it's gonna be a shorter format than what I usually do. Let me check the time now. Okay, I'm good. Usually in my Showing Up to Life podcast is usually about 30 minutes long. This one's gonna be more like about 15 minutes. Okay, so little bite-sized things because I know how busy you are and I don't want to take time out of your busy workday. And then what we're going to talk about is stress mostly, right? My area of expertise is stress, right? But stress, it's hard to say that because I really am hesitant to say that because for most people, stress just, it has a certain, identity in our minds that is not usually complete, right? That stress involves a lot more than a lot of people believe it involves, right? And so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how stress is really, stress creates the story in our mind, and the story in our mind directs the way that we interact and the way that we, move ourselves through our work day, week, month, quarter, year. It's all coming from that sort of story, that narrative in our mind, that sort of mental chatter, if you will. Okay, so we're going to talk about that over the next, however long this goes. For now, it's going to be part of the Showing Up to Life podcast and YouTube channel, right? I'm going to keep it in the same place. Eventually, we'll probably separate it into a separate, channel and stuff like that. But for now, we'll keep it simple and just keep it combined, okay? But every Friday, you can expect this episode or an episode in the Mindfulness at Work Casual Fridays, okay? So I'm really excited. Please, anybody who has a job is going to benefit from what I have to say. So please, please, please share this with any employed people that you know. This could be self-employed people, especially self-employed people, as I was for a long time. There's a lot of stress in self-employed people. Also entrepreneurs, also just, employees of any trade, any employment at all. Okay. So first I want to talk about, in this very first episode, okay, we're going to just spend a few minutes here. I want to talk to you about the importance and the value of feeling connected with people. Now, again, this is not usually something we talk about in the business world, right? Like being connected to each other. It usually is not a very high priority. However, I'm here to tell you that it ought to be. Okay. Everything you do at work, even if you're a solo designer or a copywriter, right? You're still at some point interacting with your client or your colleagues or your customers on some level, right? There's always an interpersonal aspect to all the work we do. Right now, yeah, sure. Is there somebody who's working overnight in a factory or a warehouse where they just got their earphones in and they're just doing their job and they're punching out and going home? Yeah, of course. But even them, right? Even they have to sometimes interact with their managers, with their other colleagues, and there's never a completely, and of course, I'm sure somebody can find an exception to this rule, but generally speaking, there is no such thing as a completely isolated worker in any environment, right? Again, even solopreneurs like me have to interact with other people, right? And so how we interact with those people is very much driven by the story, that mental chatter that's going on in our minds, right? Specifically, the judgment that is included in that, okay? This type of person is good. This type of person is bad, right? This is, this is difficult. This is easy, right? That kind of stuff, right? Or this type of person is difficult. This type of person is easy, that kind of thing. And so one thing that I have, back up a little bit, mindfulness itself and the practices that I'm going to be talking about week after week in this Casual Fridays podcast is going to help to adjust that judgment and shift that story, okay? But there is a really important and powerful practice we can also do that is going to especially impact that interpersonal interactions that we have, okay? Whenever I am about to meet with a new prospective client, okay, and sometimes I've never seen the person, I don't know anything about them, and that's fine, right? You don't need to have a certain, you don't need to know, like, I don't need to know that this woman who I'm going to meet with on Wednesday, I don't need to know that she has brown hair or black hair. I don't need to know if she's tall or short. I don't need to know even her name doesn't really matter, right? What I know is that she's a human being, right? And that's all I need to know. After that, the avatar in my mind can be whatever it is, right? I can picture her with black hair even though she really has brown hair. I can picture her as tall even though she's short. None of that is relevant at all, okay? But what I do is before I meet this person, and again, for all you salespeople out there, listen to this, okay? This is important. This is really valuable to you. For about 5 minutes before my call with them, like literally for the 5 minutes before I log on to meet with this person or get on the phone with them, I close my eyes and I picture this person. And again, it is absolutely irrelevant whether my image of them is accurate or inaccurate or, complimentary or derogatory. Does not matter, okay? But I picture them. I have an avatar of them in my mind, and I picture them. And I talk to them in my mind. And I'm not practicing my sales pitch, and I'm not, trying to, sort of estimate what they might say or how they might interpret what I'm saying or anything like that. No. What I'm saying to them in my mind is, may you be well. May you be happy. May something beautiful happen to you today. Like this is a practice of what we call loving kindness, which again, we're going to talk about more and more as we go on in this journey of this podcast here. But loving kindness is basically, in Buddhism, the translation of the word loving kindness, kind of translation, more of like a correlated sort of term, is gentle friend. Right, which is to say, gentle, as in the Buddhist concept, what they're using the metaphor of a gentle rain, right? Which is, gentle rain is gentle and nourishing and refreshing, right? It's not a torrential, damaging storm. It's a gentle rain, the kind of thing where I'm going to go walk around in this gentle rain. This seems beautiful, right? But most importantly about the gentle rain is that it falls evenly on everything. Right? A gentle rain doesn't avoid that one person's house because they're mean or something, right? It falls on everything equally. And in a very similar way, the idea of friend, right? A friend is someone who is a friend in the best of times and in the most difficult of times, right? Friendship doesn't change based on a person's behavior, right? A friend is a friend no matter what, right? A true friend. And so the idea of loving kindness is to walk through life as a gentle friend, as somebody who just, has an equanimity and what the neuroscientist Dan Siegel, one of my teachers, calls a universal positive regard, right? Because ultimately what we come to understand as we do this practice is that your happiness does not ever cause my suffering, and my happiness does not ever cause your suffering. These two things are completely independent of one another. And so even though I am suffering in any given moment, maybe I'm having a hard time with something, maybe it's a tough day, maybe I really need this sale or else I'm going to really have some money problems, right? Even if I'm feeling that way, I can still wish for your happiness. That does not increase my suffering. In fact, and here's the secret, it relieves my suffering to do this. And so when I get on a call with somebody after spending 5 minutes doing this work, oh my goodness, I am able to I'm playing loose. I am really connected. I am able to really it's like nothing else in the world exists except this person in this moment right now. And folks, I almost never don't sign a client when I get on the call with them. Almost never. Now, I'm selling something that's different from maybe what you're selling, but I promise you this will not do anything but benefit your sales process or any process that you have at work, right? Because we're always kind of selling, right? Even when we're talking to our manager or we're talking the people that we manage, right? We're always trying to convince somebody of something, right? Which is basically what sales is, right? And that's hard for me to say because for a long time I was a salesperson who was very, very unhappy with being a salesperson, and so it's hard for me to or it's interesting that I'm able to see sales that way, because 10 years ago I would have said no way, like sales is horrible, but it's not, right? It's not. Because really what sales is you're bringing something, you're connecting someone who has a need with the solution of that need, right? And that is an act of kindness, no matter what, no matter how you profit from it, right? But again, I guess that's the story. That's the mental chatter, right? If we look at sales that way, then we're going to be more effective in selling, right? But if we look at sales as something, I just got to separate this person from their money because of my own, sort of needs and selfishness, well, then that's going to come through in your sales too. Right? And that's the whole point, right? Is that when you're in that moment of interaction with someone, how are you showing up to that? Right? And if you show up in this space of loving kindness where you're just all about connecting with this person and all about, being that gentle friend and being that sort of force in their life that's joy and comfort and ease, well, that's going to come across. Now, I'm not saying you're going to close every single deal, right, because of this, but it's going to help. No matter what it is, it's going to help. I promise you that. All right, so here's the first episode. This was the introduction. I hope you enjoyed it. Let's see how this goes. Okay, now, for all of you who are in the Showing Up to Life community, you know that I've been doing all kinds of different, efforts and, experiments with this work, with this podcast and YouTube channel. And so this is another iteration. I'm really excited because I really do want to start getting more out there with people and organizations where I can bring this because, again, all of our lives, every single moment by moment experience that we have is part of the greater whole, right? And so the more we can bring this level of presence and non-judging awareness and the loving kindness and compassion that come from that, the more everything's going to improve. right? Whether it's, improving the culture of your workplace, whether it's increasing your profits, whether it's just giving you a better work-life balance. It's all going to be here in this podcast, okay? And that's what I'm here to do. That's what I'm here to help you with. So if you have any friends who are in the, who you think might be interested in some of this, please share this episode with them, okay? I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I will be back again on next Friday for our second edition of Mindfulness at Work Casual Fridays. Have a wonderful day, everybody. See you soon.